If you're an introvert and you've been told to be more energetic on camera, to project more confidence, to speak louder, I want to tell you that that advice is not just unhelpful, it's actually wrong for you. After coaching hundreds of entrepreneurs and creators and generating over 26 million views on YouTube for my other channel, I've learned that the introverts who try hardest to follow that advice are usually the ones who struggle the most with building an audience of fans. What I'm going to share with you today are 4 steps that will help you to build a presenting style that actually works for you. One that's built around who you already are, not who you think you should be. Now, what's important is you need to go through all 4 steps. Don't skip ahead. Because if you get all 4 of these right and you actually implement them, you will be more compelling on camera than most, hey, I love being on camera kind of extrovert kind of types. All right, so let's get into it. Now, most introverts who I work with know something feels wrong when they're on camera. They just can't really name it. They're tensing up, they're straining, they're pushing themselves to present in a way that feels completely unnatural because somewhere along the line, they've been led to believe that that's what presenting on camera is supposed to look like. And the cost of this isn't just feeling drained after every shoot. Every video that you record in someone else's style is likely to almost repel the people who might otherwise become your biggest fans because they would also appreciate your style. As an example, somebody who I've made a video about, right? Alex Hormozi, the business growth guru. Now, his style works for him. Massive success, right? That energy, that pace, the intensity, it feels real coming from him. But there are millions of people who cannot stand how he talks. Those people are on YouTube right now looking for somebody else who communicates the way that you potentially do naturally. And every time you try to be Hormozi or Gary Vee or somebody else that's a very extrovert person, people will rightly ignore you because you'll likely be a pale imitation of them. So your natural style isn't an obstacle. It's your asset, the thing that can make the biggest difference. It's how the right kind of fans find you. And when they do, they bond with you faster and more deeply than they ever would with a performed fake version of you. Now, that doesn't mean that you've got permission to be monotonous or mumble and have no clarity in what you're saying. And we will get to a subtle and very powerful way to stop that from ever happening again without you having to do any acting. But step 1 is really this. Notice where you're straining, notice where it feels wrong, and give yourself permission to stop. Now, letting go of forced energy is step 1, but you need something to replace it with, otherwise you just, authentically vague or something like that. And that doesn't really build fans either, because even if you're in a relaxed state, you can be easily ignored if you're not talking to the right person in your mind. So ask yourself 3 things. What does my audience most need to feel when they watch me? What do they need to believe about me to trust what I'm saying? And what sides of me can I highlight for talking to them in order to make that happen? These are 3 questions that you really need to ask yourself. From your answers, I want you to choose 3 characteristics that are already in you, that are part of you, not invented, not aspirational, not different, that you're going to lean into deliberately every time you're on camera. Maybe it's friendly, maybe it's a sense of humor, maybe it's reassuring, maybe it's professional. Whatever they are, they need to be genuinely yours already. Write them down. And then choose your primary role in relation to your viewer. In other words, who are you to them in a human kind of way? This is the relational stance that makes the connection feel human from the first seconds. The role that you're assuming in relation to your viewer. So, are you the trusted advisor? Or maybe the fellow traveler who's a few steps ahead? Maybe the older brother? Or the straight-talking expert who doesn't waste their audience's time? You need to choose. If you don't choose, you just be general nothing, which turns into self-consciousness. So, quick recap. 3 characteristics, 1 primary role for the relationship. Write them down on a piece of paper and stick it somewhere where you see it every time you set up a shoot. That's your shortcut for who you are on camera with your audience. You're not guessing anymore now. Great, you know who you are on camera now. The next question is, does your physical setup actually help you or stop you? Because the setup isn't ever neutral. It either works with your style or it fights you. And if it's fighting you, no amount of technique fixes it. So here's what I want you to do now. We're all working with constraints, right? But try everything you can. Every room in your house, Sitting, standing, different distances from the camera, different angles, different amount of space behind you. Go outside to the park and try to shoot there. Don't decide from theory, decide from testing. Me, for example, I really like sitting, and when I shot standing in the past, I always felt a bit more presentary, and I struggled to get that relaxed relationship going that I get when I'm sitting more often. So get on camera in each setup and watch it back. Put out videos of the ones that you like best, because what you're looking for is the combination that does two things, that feels right when you're shooting and looks right when you watch it back. Both really matter. Because, feeling comfortable in a setup that looks wrong on camera is still a problem, right? What you'll almost certainly find as an introvert is that a closer camera in a more intimate format, seated, conversational, less space between you and the lens, creates a completely different psychological contract with the viewer. It's not a lecture anymore, it's a conversation. And that's where your natural style might land the best. You'll know when you found it. It stops feeling like an effort and starts feeling like a conversation. Now, the last step in this system is really the step that most people never learn. And it's only because of my acting training that I'm aware of this, but it's the one thing that separates someone who's watchable from someone who's genuinely influential. And you can do everything else right, let go of the performance, know your shortcut, find your setup, and still feel flat on camera if this is missing. And this is the answer to that caveat from step 1. A powerful, still subtle way to make sure you're never monotonous, never mumbling around without faking a single thing or pretending to be wild or extroverted or whatever. So here's how to do this. You basically start from the end result that you want. You decide what you want the viewer to do or feel as a result of watching this video. Not in a general, I want to help people kind of way. No, specifically, I want you to do X. That's the goal. That's the spine that everything else hangs off. And then I want you to break down your script into sections or beats. Beats that naturally draw the viewer forward. Every beat in your video needs to pull your viewer towards the outcome. And then you want to think about every moment you're on camera, you need to do something to the viewer psychologically according to those beats. So for example, you might think for the hook and the setup, you want to get them intrigued. That could be a good action. Then you might want to challenge them. Then you might want to make them feel reassured or maybe confronted at some point, maybe intrigued again. So when you map out your script like this, when each beat of your script has a specific psychological action behind it, all aimed at that single goal to get the viewer to get to the point where they will do what you want them to do at the end of the video, then you have a clear structure that creates dynamics. This is where you become influential. It's subtle, it's below the surface, but people feel you. I put together a cheat sheet of psychological actions that you can use. Links in the description, it's free. But I'll be honest with you, this is probably the step where knowing it and actually doing it well are probably the furthest apart. Getting this fully into your presence on camera, into your style, rather than just in your head, is where most people need external eyes. And when I learned this in drama school, it took me months to make that breakthrough from knowing it in my head to actually expressing it in a scene. It's why this is the thing that I focus on the most in one-on-one work when I'm coaching people. Because influence operating below the surface is almost always impossible to assess for people themselves. So if that's something you're interested in and you need to accelerate your progress, feel free to reach out for personal coaching. But in summary of this video, let go of someone else's style, build your shortcut, 3 characteristics, 1 primary role, and stick it where you'll see it every time you shoot. Find the setup that lets that person show up naturally, and break every script into beats, each one with a deliberate psychological action behind it, all moving the viewer towards a single goal that you've decided before you start. And if you've ever wondered how an introverted YouTuber like Marques Brownlee built an audience of over 21 million subscribers by being thoughtful and very, very relaxed, watch this video where I break down exactly how his presentation style works and why it's so effective. Click here to watch it now.